One of my favorite YouTube channels, Reason TV, has done an interview with Nina Teicholz, or however this is pronounced, her name. As many of you probably know, the debate about eating meat has been polluted by people who are rejecting science and promoting pseudoscience. But honestly, I haven't seen anything this crazy. Nina Teicholz here explicitly rejects nutritional science as a whole. That's an 18 minutes long video. It perhaps has to be seen to believe that people can go that far. I will try to respond to main points made in that video. Like I have said, I usually like Reason TV videos, but this time it seems obvious to me they have picked the very wrong side here. Let's go.
Should the government be involved in telling us what to eat? Given the track record that they have so far, you could really make a pretty plausible argument that they've done more harm than good.
And I agree with you that the government shouldn't tell us what to eat. Yes, many of its recommendations are just wild guesses. The idea that humans need a lot of protein in their diets is, for instance, being used to justify subsidizing dairy industry. And that doesn't appear to be based on science, since milk of humans, which has of course evolved to be a perfect food for humans, contains remarkably little protein. But the idea that saturated fat causes heart disease, which your video is about, is actually based on science. Maybe the danger has been exaggerated, but to say it doesn't exist is science denial.
Milk is about the most perfect food there is. A glassful at every meal is good for you.
Even if we deny that saturated fat in milk causes heart disease, it still hardly follows that cow's milk is a perfect food for humans. See, cow's milk contains much more calcium than human body needs, but a lot less vitamin K than human body needs. Calcium does help with bone health, but only if you are not deficient in vitamin K or vitamin D. If you are, the calcium doesn't get to your bones, it stays in your blood and it causes the cholesterol in your blood vessels to calcify, leading to atherosclerosis. And most of the people these days are indeed deficient in vitamin K and vitamin D, if not both. So much so that calcium intake is not correlated with bone health, but it is with cardiovascular disease. Vitamin K, well, the food with the highest content of vitamin K are bananas and green leafy vegetables. And vitamin D, well, you just can't get enough of it from food. Mushrooms contain relatively high amounts of it, but that's still not enough to meet our body needs. You need to either have your skin often exposed to direct sunlight or take the supplements. So, ironically, trying to get enough calcium to make your body stay healthy is more likely killing yourself unknowingly.
Once upon a time, meat, butter, egg...
Butter? What are you talking about? It's not only full of saturated fat, it's full of trans fat, and nobody is denying that those are harmful to heart health.
Eggs and cheese were considered the foundation of a healthy diet.
When actually? I mean, medical science has, during its history, accepted all sorts of what we would today consider crazy stuff. But curiously, the idea that a diet full of meat is somehow healthy doesn't appear to be one of them.
Then in the 1950s, a Minnesota doctor named Ancel Keys put forth his diet heart hypothesis, claiming that saturated fats raise cholesterol levels and cause heart attacks.
That's just simply not true. The idea that saturated fat leads to heart disease has been the mainstream science since the late 19th century.
He produced landmark studies backing up his findings, which transformed nutrition science, and Keyes became a powerful figure in the science community.
And what you somehow forgot to mention is that Ancel Keys not only used epidemiological studies to support his claims, he also did some controlled studies. And the most important of his findings was that the spike of cholesterol in blood after a fat meal is the most dangerous. Furthermore, in people with already high cholesterol, the correlation between saturated fat intake and blood cholesterol is poorly correlated.
Really, dietary cholesterol was one of the major culprits from that 1961 date on, and then was finally dropped in 2013 by the American Heart Association, 2015 by our Gut Dietary Guidelines. So that was like, that's one big part of Ancel Keys' hypothesis that fell.
Okay, now it's not been accepted that cholesterol in food doesn't increase cholesterol in blood. It's just that saturated fat has a much greater effect. So why require the labels on food to show the information about cholesterol in food when the amount of saturated fat is much more important?
And the other part of his hypothesis, which is saturated fat, that is wobbling now, right?
Somebody who claims that saturated fat don't cause heart disease immediately loses all his credibility when talking about nutrition. For the same reason, somebody who claims aloe vera synthesizes vitamin B12 loses all his credibility while talking about those things. Because what that actually means is that all the nutritional scientists are in a massive conspiracy, or that all of them are very incompetent. Oh wait, you are not only implying that, you are explicitly saying that. How crazy is that?
But the explanation about why we have these flip-flopping headlines is mainly that it's this, we have made our policy based upon this weak kind of science called epidemiology, which shows association but not causation. And so we've taken this kind of weak science and made it the basis of our policy. And then when there's a more rigorous kind of science that comes along called randomized controlled clinical trials and kind of disproves that or cannot confirm that hypothesis, well, too bad, it's already policy. So
improperly done controlled studies are worse than properly done epidemiological studies many times. Maybe you should ask yourself, why does almost no nutritionist take those studies seriously? Michael Greger, I'd suggest you to read his blog, it's absolutely amazing, clearly explained that. Those controlled studies don't control for including people with various cholesterol levels before the study. And we know that saturated fat and dietary cholesterol, that they only have small effects in people with already high blood cholesterol. Such studies shouldn't have even passed a peer review, since they are done by people who obviously either haven't researched the existing literature or are trying to trick ignorant people into rejecting nutritional science. A bit of a humorous example. In a world in which everybody is eating a lot of fiber, just like almost everybody has high blood cholesterol these days, such a study would conclude a spike in the amount of fiber in intestines doesn't lead to flatulence.
I mean, it's sort of interesting to hear nutrition experts talk about sort of the slow, steady progress of nutrition science when you say, well, look at the outcome measures. What are your outcome measures? Obesity, dramatically still rising, type 2 diabetes.
People are not taking nutritional science seriously and are increasing their intake of sucrose rather than decreasing it, so the rates of type 2 diabetes are increasing. Therefore, it's somehow a fault of nutritional science. Don't you think you have gotten it precisely backwards here?
You know,
Yeah, and
huge
heart
epidemic.
disease
Heart
is-
disease still number 1 or number 2 killer. Cancer on the rise.
Okay, how is what you are saying here different from when the anti-vaxxers say stuff like, well, autism is on the rise these days, so that confirms the hypothesis that vaccines cause autism? There are so many other factors that it doesn't really mean anything. Plus, the reason we apparently suffer more from heart disease and cancer now than we did about a century ago is quite obvious to somebody who has done a tiny amount of research in the topic. But you apparently haven't. Okay, I will give you some perspective. In the 1930s, in Koška village in Croatia, 21% of deaths were due to tuberculosis. 21%. Once we eliminated tuberculosis, people are dying of other illnesses that are not yet curable. So, of course, the mortality from heart disease is going to increase. Unless some very big change happens. Like that the Inuits, whose traditional diet is mostly fish, they are now eating a significant amount of fruits and vegetables, and their rate of heart disease mortality has, according to the study done by Jolie S.E., Howard B.V. and Umans J.G. in 2013, decreased by 25%.
But the thing about saturated fats is also they raise your good cholesterol, your HDL. They're the most efficient way to raise your good cholesterol, which turns out to be a much better predictor of your long-term cardiovascular risk. So, you know.
Okay, now the hypothesis that high-density cholesterol has a positive impact on heart health is speculative. It's been proposed as an explanation for smaller amounts of alcohol in blood apparently decreasing the incidence of heart disease, since smaller amounts of alcohol in blood increase high-density cholesterol but don't significantly affect the amounts of harmful low-density cholesterol. But controlled studies generally fail to confirm that smaller amounts of alcohol protect against heart disease. They generally show it makes no difference. You're right, it's a complicated topic. However, the explanation you are proposing is based on a questionable premise and you seem to imply it's not. So why not act on things that are indeed known? The evidence that cutting saturated fat decreases the risk of heart disease is quite abundant, and the evidence that increasing the amount of vitamin K in diet does that is really overwhelming.
That is what we see happening, right? You see, and everybody, it's unlike, say, environmental policy where, in diet and nutrition, everybody can do their own N=1 experiment, right? You can go on a different diet, see if it works for you. And then you have your own data, your own observations. You can't do that in other forms of policy, right? So everybody has the ability to sort of find their own truth, right?
No, people should not be left to decide about nutrition for themselves. They will be misled just like you have been. The amount of effort needed to refute nonsense is way greater than the amount of effort needed to produce it. And what makes sense to a layman is often obviously silly to an expert. And experimenting on what works for you isn't a solution either. Because, for example, increasing the amount of fiber in your diet is likely to lead to problems short term, And that's the only thing you would see if you experimented it for yourself. You likely won't see that it helps you long term. You need science to tell you that. Like I've said earlier, see what the actual experts on nutrition have to say. Michael Greger has found time in his life to make his excellent blog where he explains clearly why the experts in nutrition don't believe what various incompetent and biased people on the internet have to say about nutrition. And he usually includes many links in his blog posts to the actual studies. And to be clear, it's not just about eating meat. Various cranks promoting all kinds of things make very similar claims. Like I mentioned, those promoting the consumption of alcohol, then those who promote coconuts and avocados, plants exceptionally rich in saturated fat, it's supposedly not causing heart disease or even being miraculous cures for various diseases, contradicting much of what we know about nutrition. They even take it to the next level, such as claiming that only this or that particular saturated fatty acid, which their product contains little or no, causes heart disease, and well, they require you to try to prove them wrong. And even when somebody does prove them wrong, they don't change their claims. It would be hilarious if we weren't talking about life-threatening illnesses. I think that Michael Greger's work should be obligatory to read in schools.
Every food category you can find, we have faithfully, dutifully follow the guidelines. Meat is down, animal.
What do you mean we are eating less meat than before? Eating meat has, for most of the human history, as well as way into the 20th century, been seen as a sign of prosperity that only the wealthy could have afforded. Emperor Hui of Jin in the 3rd century CE said, when informed that people were starving because there was no rice, "Why don't they eat meat?" That was considered a sign of extreme incompetence for an emperor, and he was overthrown because of that. Yet, today, many people are divorced from reality so much that they don't see why that's a ridiculous thing to say. Hint: it's the same logic as in the much more famous phrase, "let them eat cake." This response video is already too long, and that's all for this video. Like I've said, Reason TV is one of my favorite YouTube channels, and I usually take their ideas seriously, up until now, when they have so obviously picked the wrong side. Like, seriously, Reason TV, how can I trust you about anything else? It also makes me wonder if making sure people like Nina Teicholz don't manipulate people ignorant of nutritional science may be more important than freedom of speech. Thanks for watching.